We're all familiar with the story in this week's Parsha of how Tamar was sentenced to the death penalty rather than publicly humiliating Yehuda. To save her own life, she said, Le'ish asher eileh loi anochi hora. By the man to whom these belong, I am pregnant. She produced the collateral that Yehuda gave her and gave him the choice to confess. Rashi learns from here that it's better for a person to jump into a fiery furnace than publicly humiliate someone else. The Sefer Parshas writes, based on the Targum Yonis of Ben Uziel, that initially Tamar was unable to locate these 3 articles that she was given as collateral. She then turned her eyes towards heaven and begs Hashem for mercy to show her where they were. That is when Hashem opened her eyes and enabled her to find the items that eventually saved her life. But even after that, had Yehuda not confessed, Tamar was prepared to die. If this is the length a person is supposed to go, not to shame someone else, it shows how severe the Torah considers causing embarrassment. And so if someone stumbled and humiliated another individual, that person should do everything in his power to obtain forgiveness, even if it means subduing his pride and overlooking what the other person may have done to him. The story takes place here in Israel with 2 neighbors, 2 women that lived on the same floor of an apartment building. One day, the 2 women, 2 neighbors, got into a dispute, and one of them, Leah, completely humiliated the other one. Esther, that had been shamed, chose to stay quiet, but harbored negative feelings towards Leah from that day onwards. For the next 20 years, these neighbors did not speak to each other. They saw each other in the grocery store, in the street, and even in the elevator, but they avoided making eye contact. In 2001, Leah celebrated the engagement of her son. She was full of hakaras hatov to Hashem and wanted to do something to show the appreciation she had. So she decided to make peace with her neighbor. One evening, Leah worked up the courage to knock on Esther's door. Esther was shocked to open the door and see Leah standing there. "How are you?" Leah said with a big smile on her face, to which Esther replied, "Baruch Hashem." Then Leah said, "I came to invite you to my son's wedding, which will be taking place Be'ezus Hashem in a few months." Esther invited Leah to come inside and sit down, and they began to talk as if they had never been in any dispute at all. "By the way, what's the exact date of the wedding?" Esther asked. "May 24th, Leah replied. "Oi, I feel bad," Esther said, "but I have a procedure scheduled. I'll have to be in the hospital that day and the next, so I won't be able to make it. I'm sorry." A few minutes later, the women hugged each other and Leah left. That evening, Leah asked her son if he would mind changing the date of the wedding, and she explained why making it earlier was not possible, and the chosson really didn't want to push it off. But after his mother told him what schus it would be if they changed the date to accommodate that neighbor, he agreed. He discussed it with his in-laws, and they changed the date to 2 days later. After everything was finalized, Leah went back to Esther's apartment and once again invited her to the wedding on the new date. The neighbor couldn't believe they'd changed the date of the wedding just for her. Both women were practically in tears. The long 20-year dispute was finally over. Rabbi Avi, on the night of May 24th, 2001, a major tragedy took place in the wedding hall in Tokyo, when a large portion of the floor collapsed, many people falling 2 stories, resulting in several casualties. That was the hall where the wedding had scheduled to take place on that very night. But because Leah was so steadfast in wanting forgiveness for humiliating her neighbor, they were saved from being a part of that tragedy. People's feelings can be highly sensitive, and we need to do everything in our power to prevent someone from being shamed. If chas v'shalom we cause someone embarrassment, we must do all we can to seek their forgiveness, just as Leah did even 20 years later. Humbling ourselves for the sake of peace and healing is very precious in Hashem's eyes. And when we overcome our inclinations and do the will of Hashem, we will surely be rewarded greatly for it. Wishing you all an amazing Shabbos.